Hi, my name is Darren Sharps, and I'm on Pinterest's Insights team. I come from an academic research background, having earned a PhD in social and organizational psychology. And it's been really fascinating to apply my research during this time of massive behavioral and societal change. This session shares custom research on how the new normal has changed pinner behavior and what brands can do to stay relevant and drive impact in this fast-paced environment. Everything we do at Pinterest starts with our mission, which is to bring everyone the inspiration to create a life they love. Let me talk to you for just a moment about who is on Pinterest and where they live. Because people are in need of more inspiration than ever, we're growing constantly, and there's been a huge surge in usage in the last 6 months. We have over 400 million monthly active users with over 240 billion pins saved to more than 5 billion boards. And looking at this demographically, we have some of the most coveted audiences that you want to reach as a marketer. 80% of US moms, 1 in 2 US millennials, and that breaks down into 76% of US millennial women and 40% of US millennial men. Pinterest is available all over the world. 2/3 of our monthly active users are from outside the US, in countries like India, Brazil, and Mexico. Our ad markets are actually playing catch up with our global usage because we want brands to be able to reach pinners wherever they are. Today, ads are available in more than 20 markets, and we're opening up new markets all the time. So the Pinterest audience is a wide breadth of individuals and market coverage from which to learn. Let's talk for a moment about how we actually learn from pinners. Core value at Pinterest is to put pinners first. At Pinterest, we take pinner data very seriously, and everything we do around data is rooted in 3 core tenets. The first is transparency. We want to make sure our users know exactly how we use their data when they sign up for Pinterest and use Pinterest. The second is value exchange. We believe that the best companies today use data to provide significant value back to users in exchange for personal information. Think like Spotify's end-of-year lists. And we are focused on giving pinners more value than we capture. Because personalization based on context is fundamental to our mission, we spend a lot of time thinking about the mindset and context of data we capture in service of giving users the most relevant ideas based on their unique tastes and preferences. And the third tenet we think about is enrichment. Our mission is to inspire everyone to live a life they love versus just consume media passively. So when we use data and glean insights, we want to make sure that we are designing experiences that enable people to move from inspiration to action, doing things in the real world. And brands play a key role here, which we will discuss. One major way that we learn from pinners is our first-party data. Every pin saved on Pinterest, remember more than 240 billion of them, gives us a multitude of signals such as the context, the pin title, visual cues, the pin description, what boards it's saved to, and what category it's classified in. This gives us very rich data to understand pinner behavior and day-to-day life. And when pinners save content to boards, it's like they create an invisible comment. 2 things happen when a pin is saved. The board name gives us a view of what their intent is and what that pinner is planning for. It can also even give us a window into like how proximate is that intent. Perhaps this is for a very quickly coming birthday or for a wedding that a person may have one day. Secondly, it tells us how pinners feel about products, images, and services, what they perceive to be the value of the idea. With Pinterest, you get much more personal insights about your brand, how people use it, and what those products mean to customers. So we just talked about Pinterest's data toolkit. In the last 6 months, our data has been in demand in a whole new way, and responding to COVID really challenged us to work differently. We had the same toolkit, but we needed to apply it to new problems. We pivoted to some new ways of working, which included week-to-week sprints and covering more markets. So what did our insights look like in the age of COVID? We translated Pinterest's many data signals into insights-driven themes that were sent in a weekly push to advertisers, creators, and partners. We started this process with a lot of urgent churn. When we first began to release the weekly newsletter, there was a lot of confusion and concern for everyone's vertical specific needs. As we began to find our footing, we started to land on some best practices for getting the newsletter out the door in a way that satisfied a growing number of stakeholders and met the needs of the market. We leaned into a few key principles there. We tried to focus on speed over precision so that we would be getting up to the minute insights to market and to our partners. We also made sure that the project was delegated and resourced appropriately since it was such a high priority. And we focused on pinners, what they need, what moments are shaping their lives now. Ultimately, we've gotten very positive feedback from our advertisers and agencies and had some great team wins. Our team has needed to get creative about data formats. In addition to the newsletter, which you just saw, we've also worked to translate insights into a white paper and into video. Stay tuned, I'll share that video in just a moment. So you've heard a little bit about the kind of data that we have, and now I want to talk about what the last 6 months have taught us about how pinners are adapting to the new normal. Pinners inspire us every day. So in the very initial stages of this crisis, we found that people were turning to Pinterest to stay inspired by meeting 3 care need states. The first was me, focusing on oneself, needing to keep myself whole in this crisis. And it focused on how we are finding self-care rituals and other ways of keeping our minds and emotions healthy in this turbulent time. So some keywords associated with that care need state are quote, mindful, journal, lots of folks thinking about self-care. The second need state that we discovered was we, needing to care for and protect the ones we love, and how we were seeking loving distractions for our friends and family that we're sheltering in place with. So, some keywords associated with that need state were children, partner, care package. Last but not least, pinners were really thinking about us. How can I care for and support my extended community outside my home that I can't necessarily interact with as directly, but how can I appreciate and be part of my neighborhood? And these insights resulted in a really beautiful marketing campaign, which I want to share with you.
COVID-19 continues to change lives.
More states issue safer at home orders.
Businesses shutter their doors.
Does it work?
So that tells you a little something about pinner behavior, but how can brands react and break through with a distinct message in this environment? One that doesn't start with, in these challenging times. Here at Pinterest, our data is leading our approach, and based on emerging behavior and search trends on Pinterest, there are 4 important stages to consider as you're planning or replanning how your brand shows up in the era of COVID-19. Depending on their region of the country or the world, most consumers are in phase 3 or phase 4, what we call escapism and optimism, or recovery and rebound. Your audience may even bounce from phase to phase on different days or in response to different news cycles. And later this year, maybe even during the holiday season, your customers may revert to phase 1, triage and information, or phase 2, empathy and relevance. And that's something that you should be prepared for and planning for. So phase 1 of the COVID-19 crisis we found was all about triage and information. Consumers and guests were seeking reliable information while feeling overwhelmed and disoriented. Us right along with them. What time is the store open? What businesses are actually still open? What should I be doing right now? In this stage, brands can really help consumers sort through the prioritization by clearly communicating some critical information, pivoting their existing creative to eliminate any irrelevant information or information that might not even be sensitive at this time, and offer immediate solutions. It's also a great time for brands to take advantage of cheaper auctions, since so many marketing dollars were moving around at that time. An open research question for me is, if we revert back to this phase, what does phase 1 look like the next time around? We've been here before, we have some routines, but triage and information is definitely going to still be needed. My team will be sharing what we learn. The next phase is phase 2, empathy and relevance. And this is really a phase where ads should offer timely and relevant solutions, but also solace. Your customers want to feel seen first, and then they'll be open to hearing how you can help. Consumers really want to feel better. So a few tips for brands in this phase: make sure the context for your ad is as inspiring as its message, that it's not appearing alongside depressing news, for instance. You can highlight how you're helping humanity with charitable support or changes to your brand. And you can also reframe any direct response campaigns in order to deepen brand loyalty. For example, you may not want to hold a fall sale anymore, but rather a supporting our customers promotion. Phase 3 is escapism and optimism. And in this phase, consumers are escaping the present by planning for the future. They're seeking inspiration, something to look forward to. Your brand can be just the thing that they were looking for. First, brands in this phase should offer a vision for the future and really think about things in the future tense. So shift from one-way flights to Hawaii to beach dreaming, plan a future trip to Honolulu. Brands can also think deliberately about how to help consumers prepare for postponed life events, some of which were delayed from the summer to the fall, and now some are being delayed from the fall all the way to 2021. Last but not least is phase 4, recovery and rebound. This looks forward to when things are starting to go back to normal. People want to celebrate, want to experience that freedom, but they'll also expect brands to be responsive to their new normal. Things are not going back exactly as they were before. In this phase, brands can address how long-term habits have changed, understand their customers' economic constraints, and be ready for a different kind of holiday season. For instance, on Pinterest, we're finding that consumers are shifting their shopping earlier than ever because they're actually worried about shipping delays and stockouts. I predict that the biggest changes will be how our center of gravity has shifted to the home. This affects everything from fashion and cooking to socializing and work. Brands that provide best-in-class online experiences plus resonate with changing consumer attitudes are well-positioned to win in this new environment. So just to summarize this section, we find that pinners are looking to the future. In February, before COVID-19, things looked pretty normal. The through line is a 0 index. But in March, things started deviating drastically as pinners focused on information for right now, like activities for kids, easy pantry recipes, or mask making. Now, future optimism and planning on Pinterest is nearing pre-COVID levels. Things like event planning, travel, summer, Future Family, outfits for men and women, and wedding dresses are really returning to their pre-COVID levels. Knowing that people are returning to planning for the future with one foot in immediate needs, what can brands do about that? They must stay relevant and drive impact by understanding and speaking to consumer needs and attitudes. This also shaped how my team thinks about research. We're constantly monitoring behaviors and trends so that when we share them with partners, they are still relevant, which gives brands a chance to act early and meet pinners at the point of inspired decision-making. So what does inspired decision-making look like on Pinterest? On Pinterest, ads are content. They don't interrupt, they're not a distraction, they're actually a decision-making tool. And over half of pinners feel that branded content enhances the pinner experience. You can imagine a pinner, Claire. Claire comes to Pinterest undecided, looking for some quick dinner ideas. This is really common. People come early and undecided to Pinterest because, and we know this because 97% of top searches on Pinterest are unbranded. As she starts browsing and searching to refine and organize her ideas, she's inspired through visual engagement. Pinners use Pinterest to discover new products. In fact, 84% of weekly pinners use Pinterest when they are actively considering products and services to purchase, but are still undecided. And finally, when she's ready for action, she's making her decision with the help of brands. Looks like she landed on mini taco salad bowls, which sounds delicious. And a full 83% of pinners have made a purchase based on content they saw from a brand on Pinterest. For this reason, brands can help shape decisions by reaching pinners early with their message and inspiring their decision-making with relevant and considerate messages. Here's a beautiful example of how McCormick did this using COVID insights. We noticed early on that how-to searches were up as certain staples became more difficult to find on store shelves. Searches for how to make bread shot up by 12x. We brought this to the attention of spice manufacturer McCormick, which quickly created a carousel pin featuring 4 creative homemade bread recipe ideas, including roti flatbread and coconut banana bread. We also saw a 13x increase in searches for indoor activities to do with kids. Armed with that information, McCormick created pins explaining how to use its food color products, egg dyes, and extracts to create a homemade window clings and DIY scented slime. Together, those 2 pins, were saved to boards more than 37,000 times and are already among McCormick's top saved pins for the year. So thank you so much for listening in on this presentation. I'll be in the chat to answer any questions that you have, and feel free to reach out to this email address with follow-up questions or concerns. Hope you enjoy the rest of MRMW.